Miniature artists, like really old school miniature artists, they rarely sign their paintings. You were supposed to leave your ego at home and make your painting. My name is Hiba Schahbaz and I'm an artist, and I live in Brooklyn, New York, but I'm originally from Karachi, Pakistan. I trained as an Indo-Persian miniature painter. Like, that's kind of my past, is very traditional Indo-Persian painting, and that was in Lahore at the National College of Arts, which is a really old pre-partition art school. And miniature was something which was passed on from master to apprentice, but it entered our school system in 1980, I think. And that was, like, I guess, a weird thing to learn growing up, because it wasn't that I was so into like history at that point. It was just such a ritualistic, meditative art form that it really kind of just drew me in. And so I think from 1999 until 5 years ago, I worked primarily as a miniaturist. I mean, I was very involved in that traditional painting. Miniature painting is kind of, it's very small, the way I approached it, and it's very stylized. There's no perspective. There are a lot of rich jewel-like colors. There are these ornate borders. It's all about beauty, and the work is representational. Like, I can represent a figure, but it won't be realistic, because when we were studying miniature, we were told that artists you're not competing with God, you're portraying something. And so there are no like muscles or bones or shadows. The challenge of it was transitioning to such large scale female figures to try to maintain that in like balance the spirituality with the content a little bit. I moved to New York 10 years ago, and I started my MFA at Pratt Institute. I feel like the journey between making art and my own journey has kind of run parallel, in the way that when I moved here to New York, I almost never would paint faces. Like, I would just paint bodies and I would leave faces blank. Or if I was painting a female figure, she would be turned away. Like, there was a lot of distancing. And then I think a couple of years after I moved here, I started painting the face in profile. So I did like 20 self-portraits, really like tiny ones. And even a couple of years after that was when the woman, she turned to face the viewer and the actual gaze came in. And I think it took me a really long time to let the world in, like in any form. So I think it was like it's kind of always been a running together, the paintings and myself. When the paintings got larger, they got a lot pinker and redder. I'm not entirely sure why it happened. I think it's because when I'm painting, I'm very much in an inside space. Like, I'm always thinking of my inner life. And I think the colors come from that space. So even when I start a painting and I'm like, I'm gonna paint the sky blue, it always turns pink. So I've stopped fighting it, and I'm just kind of trying to go with it and let the pink and the red run its course. I feel really good about this show at Rockefeller Center, and I did have a gallery show earlier in the year, and that was great. But there was something kind of moving at this moment about making work for a public space and knowing that people who don't always have access to art will see it. It was also completely out of my comfort zone. Like, I'm very much a studio artist, and So it just kind of putting it together sort of felt like a gift to the city at this time. And it's also been really lovely getting that feedback from people who are around there or who work there, or who they have greeters who tell me stories about some mom came with her daughter to look at your work, or someone came from Boston. And I really love hearing all those stories, because maybe now I'm into public art.